Hi everyone, welcome to the R.E.L.M. So if you've been here, welcome back. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Ricky. And if you do happen to like this content in the end, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment down below. I decided that for my return on the channel, I have been away for a year. The last upload was Sankofa, which went really well, by the way. And if you could check that out. I decided that for my return, I should do something much more honest, I guess, to what I've been going through. And like, I have known a little bit about Mount Erie because they've been compared to Elliott Smith. And even I haven't heard of Elliott Smith. It's just weird how I know grief music, but some of the songs or some of the artists I've never listened to. So I just decided to dare myself on this channel to actually react to something of that sort. I have gone through grief myself these past months, and I am aware that Mount Erie has like this diary style when it comes to writing, and very much compared to Elliott Smith, even though I haven't heard Elliott Smith. But I think I got into him because I was looking for recommendations after listening to Earl Sweatshirt. And by the way, I like if y'all want an Earl Sweatshirt reaction. I know a couple of albums. Like I don't like shit. I don't go outside. I know some rap songs like the Magnum Opie. So I feel like I just got to know grief music just through Earl or maybe other artists as well. But I decided that for my return, we should do this. I have the songs right here with me, and I also have lyrics because I found that the most important part about the sound of Mount Erie is the lyrics themselves. So I have to admit I'm a little nervous because I haven't done reactions in like a really long time. And I am doing this in a different setting. I'm doing this at home, and it doesn't ever feel normal to do content at home. But I will be here for like quite some time now, so I decided to make the most of it. Track number one is Real Death. Death is real. Someone's there and then they're not. And it's not for singing about. It's not for making into art. Okay, so he's clearly saying this is not an exploit album. He's not taking his pain and turning it into some commercial success. Death is real, and it's so straightforward. I did not expect that. When I walk into the room where you were and look into the emptiness instead. My knees fail. Wow. My brain fails. It's like a guitar as well. A week after you died, a package with your name on it came, and inside was a gift for our daughter. You had ordered in secret and collapsed there on the front steps. I wailed. Okay. Um. A backpack for when she goes to school a couple years from now. You were thinking ahead to a future you must have known deep down would not include you, though you clawed at the cliff. It's dumb, and I don't want to learn anything from this. I love you. Oh, hold on. That's the first song. Essentially, real death is more like he's demystifying the whole like autistic thing that goes into like creating something after pain. I don't know if I'm making sense, but he's making such a simplistic statement that this is not glamorous, this is not nice. And he's also mentioning his daughter as well. Oh gosh, oh, okay, so I know, okay, he lost his wife to cancer, and it seems as if she sort of planned ahead because of course, but oh my gosh, I'm just finding it so heartbreaking that he's talking so directly about like the preparation towards death and then the aftermath. Number two, which is seaweed. Our daughter is 1.5. You have been dead 11 days. 11 days? I can't remember. Were you into Canada geese? Is it significant, these hundreds on the beach? Or were they just hungry for mid-migration seaweed? Okay, so I heard something in the song where he said, I don't remember if something something. Let me just find the lyrics. He's saying, I can't remember, were you into Canada geese? Is it significant? 300s on the beach, or were they just hungry for mid-migration seaweed? Um, you know what's funny? I see what he's talking about because there's that point where when you're grieving someone, when you've lost someone, that you start to like wonder, like if you'll like remember them forever, and you panic when you start to like forget little things about them. So I oh my gosh, it's so specific. I didn't expect this. Okay, but he's also making like some poetic metaphors as well. Um, I think concerning the title itself, seaweed. Let's continue. I can't remember. You did most of my remembering for me, and now I stand untethered in a field full of wild foxgloves. I brought a chair from home. I'm leaving it on the hill, facing west and north. I guess so you can watch the sunset. Oh my gosh. But the truth is, I don't think of that dust as you. You are the sunset. Okay, there's one thing I did not think about while doing this reaction. I didn't think that it would I didn't think about how manufactured some of my reactions are are usually. And now I just find that I'm just sort of sitting there and like listening to this person talking so intricately about the aftermath of losing his wife to cancer. And literally, there are these moments where he's just struggling to move on. You know, like feeling like he's remembering, he's starting to forget like little parts about her, and just sort of feeling you know how when people get married you sort of blend each other's lives together, and there's this line here that says, you did all the remembering for me. Yeah, so I see that, and I also see like the chair and the dust and the intention of doing that. But sort of saying in the end that I don't think of the dust as you, I think of the sunset as you. So that's just absolutely beautiful. I respect this so much because it's not, so far it doesn't feel like an album that you can listen like one song and just like have a favorite. It feels like an experience of its own, and I feel like that's how I experience Earl's Sweatshirt as well, is that you can't always pick one song from him to listen to. And i I find that to be actually immersive, right? Because I don't want a single from this. I don't want one song that's going to have more commercial appeal than others. So I really respect that this is more like maybe a stream of consciousness. Oh my word, it just feels so poignant and amazing. My God. Track number three is Ravens. In October 2015, I was out in the yard. I glanced up at the half moon, pink chill refinery cloud light. Did we have to get the specific date? Oh my word. And like the all the intricacies around like the scene. I mean, beautiful. My word. Two ravens, but only two. Their black feathers tinted in the sunset. Wow. 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 Okay, I'm saying wow because I see the scene, but I was also wondering what do ravens have to do with this? What's so special about the ravens? And I just sort of see sort of like the gloominess of ravens being associated, like ravens are crows, right? Like it's sort of like in the same family and they're always associated with death. So he said, I see two ravens, but only two. So maybe they always travel in schools, in flocks. So I I just think maybe it's supposed to be a little romantic because it's two ravens, but we'll see. But I'm also just thinking of like the detail that he spoke of, like with the feathers, and I just sort of saw that. Oh wow! Like I remember just I don't know. I'm not saying I remember, but I'm saying I this whole that line. They're black feathers tinted in the sunset. I see that. I actually see that. They were flying out toward the island where we hoped to move. You were probably inside. You were probably aching, wanting not to die. Your body transformed. I couldn't bear to look, so I turned my head west. Bleeding and afraid, full of love, calling out from another place because you're not here. I watched you die in this room, then I gave your clothes away. I'm sorry, I had to. Wow. Wait. Wow. I don't know if it's talking about reincarnation, like in the form of ravens. And it's also talking about either her fears or his fears. But there's sort of like this uncertainty about the afterlife. And oh my gosh. And there's this sentence that says, here where I sit the next October, still seeing your eyes, pleading and afraid, full of love. Like the full of love thing makes me think of grief and how grief is like that love having no place to go, right? So I just sort of felt that. Um, oh my word! And also, he's apologizing for giving her clothes away. My word, it's so intimate. My God, because I feel like he's still talking to her in her absence. It's absolutely beautiful.
We'll move with our daughter. We will ride over water with your ghost underneath the boat. What was you is now my bones, and I cannot be at home. I'm running, grief flailing.
I know I said that there won't be like a single or like a favorite or one that has to have more commercial appeal than others, but I think this one might be my favorite so far. I just feel like it's going into this the I don't know, the sweet spot. I don't know, like the bitterness of grief and the sweetness of grief. So it's I'm there. I'm there.
We could blanket ourselves in the moss there for our long lives. When we came home, you were pregnant, and then our life together was not long.
She was pregnant? Oh my god, it sounds like they went to like this like ideal destination, like they went somewhere on vacation and then she got pregnant and then she got sick afterwards and died. That's trauma. Oh my god. Oh, oh my god.
When you get back from wherever it is that you've gone. But then I remember death is real, and I'm still here in Massive. It's August 12th, 2016.
Oh god.
You've been dead for 1 month and 3 days, and we are sleeping. Wake up, all the clothes that we left out are cold and damp just from the air permeating. The ground opens up, surrounded by growth, nerve slugs with layers of moss and light.
Wait. There's like this line that I was like trying to picture and until it really got in about air. Wait, it says, when we wake up, all the clothes that we left out are cold and damp just from the air permeating. What a detail! What a detail! Oh my word! Wow, this is absolutely beautiful. He's so good with detail. Um, let's continue.
Nothing dies here, but here is where I came to grieve, to dive into it with you, with your absence. But I keep picking you berries.
It's heavy, I think, because of the extra details. They're not necessarily extra to the story, but they're so they add into the whole thing. You know, they add into the whole story, the whole song. And I did not expect an artist. Who is Mount Erie? Like, I feel like this is the only album, the only thing that ever came out. Because how do you continue making music after this? Oh my word. It's so strange. He describes grief so respectfully and so well. I'm actually shocked.
The year moves on without you in it. Now it is fall without you. I watch the calendar bulldoze. This whole past summer was a lingering heat wave, and I remember.
Wait. Okay. I thought that. Oh gosh. Forest fire now is more about like seasonal change, and now just sort of having to sit long enough with that feeling of grief. Now it feels like it's more about like it's less about the bargain part, like going to places, trying to get back those memories and all that. Now it feels like we're getting into like depression a little bit. Oh gosh, let's continue.
Where we used to swim. They say a natural cleansing devastation, burning the understory, erasing trails. There is no end. The devastation is not natural or good. You do belong here. I reject nature. I disagree. I missed you, of course. And I remember thinking the last time it rained here, you were alive
Wow.
still. On your last morning, so you could breathe, and then so you could ghost
Oh
away.
my god.
And now, so the room will hopefully stop whispering.
Wow.
Grief walking around, severed lumbering, but slowly.
I'm getting the autumn feel. I get the leaves, I get the fire, I get like the rain in contrast with the fire. You know, I get the metaphors is making, but I don't get it as a statement. I don't, but let's continue.
Who and how could
Wow.
I live?
Just based on the last lines, it feels like now the story might have been about survivor's guilt and sort of the inner turmoil that sort of happens as a result. But I also feel like what was happening outside was more like something. He's so good at like describing something that he's seeing and finding a metaphor related to his personal suffering or like his grief, right? So I think this time it got lost on me because I was so focused on autumn as in the season where I don't know, fall to me seems redemptive. It feels transformative. It never feels like it's supposed to be like a reverse of change. I don't I don't know if I'm making sense. But I just feel like Forest Fire to me is beautiful with all its. In fact, it's not even a least favorite song. It's just that I wish that I understood it much more directly as the other songs. The fifth track is Swims. I feel like I've heard Swims before, even from like a series or like something. I have heard Swims because there's this line where the daughter asks if her mom swims, and he says that's all she does now. And I just remember like hearing that line somewhere and being so heavily associated with Mount Erie, well, that I never forgot. I can't wait to listen to this song because it's track number five, first of all, and B, I just feel like it's going to be central because he mentioned swimming in this song, Forest Fire.
I can't get the image out of my head.
I'm having my own experiences with grief, needless to say. So some of the stuff he's just saying just sort of go into that memory a little bit. Let's continue.
Upstairs in the back bedroom of our house where we have lived for many years. Your last gasping
Oh
breaths.
gosh.
The room I still don't go in at night because I see
Oh
you.
gosh.
Your transformed dying face will recede with time. But then only 2 months after you died, a counselor
Oh
died.
my god.
Her empty office with no light on, as if her work was done. We are always so close to not existing at all.
Oh my god. This one has an emotional beat to it. Um, he's talking about his counselor, their counselor, dying as well during that time. Oh god, the loneliness of that. Oh gosh. Um, Also, there's this line that I think I want to sort of go back to. We are all always so close to not existing at all. It reminded me of this biblical verse that says we are sheep ready for slaughter.
Today our daughter asked
This
me
is
if mama swims. I told her yes she does. And that's probably all she does. Now,
that's so
what
silly.
was you evaporating?
Okay, I know I said that I don't want singles for this album, but Ravens and Swims is those are my highlights for sure. Maybe Real Death because it was so like direct and so I think it helped with the directness of the album itself and anticipating that. So those three songs, my word, but this one is probably my favorite so far because it feels as much as I'm noticing something as well, just besides the diary style of the lyricism. I'm noticing that he writes melodies in almost like this freestyled way. Yeah, so he has like this sort of like crescendoing melody, and I I don't find it too annoying because I guess it's good that I have favorites, so that I can't always like listen to like the same melody throughout the album. So that's really something that I noticed. There's something now that I forgot. The instrumentation being used being simply acoustics. And I'm also noticing like maybe 808 when it comes to like the drums. But not much is really happening, it's just minimalism. Just so much of it is his voice and what he's saying. So that's really beautiful because I can't focus on anything else. Track 6 is my chasm.
I am a container of stories about you.
Wow.
Do the people around me want to keep hearing about my dead wife?
Oh.
Or does the room go silent when I mention you shining alive?
You know, I have found that one of the reasons why grief is so isolating is because we can't always talk about that love that we have for that person or that we had for this person. Um, that it just comes across as too much, maybe, especially to people who weren't like personally invested in the loss itself. So I find that maybe people who were close to the lost one would most likely want to always talk about how much they love them. But if you are having an isolated experience, which anyway, grief will in any ways be an isolating experience. But if it happens that you're grieving someone that no one is grieving for, it's it's really like these two sentences right here. Am I talking about this person too much, or is it good? Do people want to hear about this and just sort of bring her back to life in a sense?
But when I'm in public, I don't know what's that look in their eyes. I now wield the power to transform a grocery store aisle into a canyon of pity and confusion and mutual aching to leave.
These lines that he's singing are very much related to what I was talking about. But there's also like a melodrama. I don't know if it's like a melodrama or like an angst going on, whereby he feels like when he's in public, people are seeing the grief on him. It's another real experience about grief, is that you get to the point where you lose that mask and you feel like now everyone just sort of sees you in this like pitiable way, and it's so beautiful. But when I'm in public, I don't know what's that look in their eyes. I now wield the power. I now wield the power. And I don't know if it's a power because you get to the point where as much as the grief is heavy, but it feels like you're more comfortable with yourself then than ever. I don't know. It's I know the sentence. I know that sentence of I now wield the power to transform a grocery store aisle. It sounds melodramatic, but it is a power if you think about it, because so much of it can be like pitiable and confusing, but you're in this very comfortable state where you know you're grieving someone and you're honest about it. And in fact, you want to go through it because it's someone that you loved. You know, it's beautiful. And also and mutual aching to leave. So maybe he doesn't always want to find himself in that situation. So that makes sense.
Look at me, death is real.
Okay. Ugh. Track number 7, When I Take Out the Garbage at Night.
I'm not with you then, exactly. I'm with the universe, and with the lightning and thunder coming in over the mountains. Cold because I won't close the window, just in case something still needs to leave. I stand in the yard and look up. When I take out the garbage at night, and then have to go back in and live on.
Oh, whew. Okay. Um, when I take out the garbage at night, there is like a storm outside, like a literal storm. and he's talking about how unbearable it is to go inside because also there's like this room where she died in that he keeps the window open just to sort of I think now he's more than I think he's ready to move on, but it's just painful. um I feel that the garbage at night that he talks about is more like about now he's cleaning up. I'm assuming, you know, he's cleaning up and he's trying to move on, but it's still so painful to look back into that room. You know, it's I don't know, that's how I understood it anyway. You know, I think maybe the thunder is supposed to be more like a noise around him, like a soothing noise. That when he goes inside, it's like this silent uh darkness, I assume, or like this silent grief. So I wow. It's short as well, but it's absolutely effective. Track number 8, Emptiness Part 2. Why is there a part 2? Don't tell me there was a part 1.
The feeling of being in the mountains
Sorry, I have to point that out. Now I'm hearing a bass guitar. Maybe there has been one throughout, but I just never really noticed one with like a distinct pattern. Um, yeah, okay, that's the one thing that caught my attention so far.
is a dream of self-negation. To see the world without us,
Wow.
how it churns and blossoms without anyone looking on. But actual negation when your person is gone and the bedroom door yawns.
The phrase your person, man, it just really says something, you know, to that relationship. And I it's a similar thing to the previous song of being unable to move on despite, you know, actually attempting to. So now it feels like he's at the top of a mountain and is literally like looking at the world and just sort of um seeing a world outside of his. And I guess now he's noticing that the world moves on and grief does not wait for anyone, or rather death does not wait for anyone. So it's just like that feeling of um of moving on, like there's the survivor's guilt as well, but the the self negation that he talks about is more like uh, I guess being able to see this, to experience this, whereas he's also simultaneously feeling that grief, that loss. So that's cool. That's really cool. It's the the lyrical balance. It's not a lyrical balance. The thematic balance is what's cool.
Her absence is a scream, saying nothing.
His humming. I don't know which other song. I think it was Forest Fire or My Chasm, between those two songs where he was like humming. He has a beautiful hum. It's only beautiful because it feels like therapeutic to this. You know, it feels this at all does not feel melodic, right? It doesn't feel like it varies like with different melodies and all that, but it just feels like one continuous experience. But that one moment where he just hums or just lets the instruments play a little longer, You know, it just builds another atmosphere.
I would like to forget and go back into imagining that snow shining permanently alone could say something to me true and comforting.
There was a continuous feeling coming from when I take out the garbage at night. Um, but I feel like emptiness is, when I was talking about a single, I think emptiness feels like a single, but maybe it's because it's related to like emptiness part one, which this is the first time listening to Mount Erie, so I have no idea. So there's this line he's talking about we've spoken about conceptual emptiness, but now it's happening to me, I guess. But I feel like this one could be my least favorite because of what I'm pointing out, right? And it's funny because this one is somehow the most distinct. It had like a guitar, it had a bass guitar, it had a guitar riff. Like I like I don't know, it's beautiful. I will have to listen to that one again. I will have to listen to it again. It is not at all terrible. And in fact, it is thematically relevant. But I guess I'm just pointing it out because it just felt different from what I was hearing. It sounded slightly different from what I was hearing in the album. Track 9 is Toothbrush slash Trash.
Today I just felt it for the first time. 3 months and one day after you died. Memory of what it's like to know you're in the other room.
Wow.
To hear you singing on the
Oh my god.
stairs in between times.
I mean, this song so far is demonstrating to me that grief is not linear because he's going back to like that reminiscing of I miss you, I miss specific details about you, and it comes back in like this bittersweet way. And I guess that bittersweetness just gets worse before it gets better because now it's been months, like 3 months I think, and he's still talking about these sweet traits, but there's obviously like this yearning instead of progression. So it just shows that it's not like this linear thing that happens. It's sort of like that. That's literally what I'm hearing.
I can feel these memories escaping,
Nice.
colonized by photos narrowed down and told. My mind erasing the echo of you in the house dies down.
Oh, okay, tempo. What was I going to talk about? Now I just focused on the tempo change. No, I guess I was going to talk about the whole this. I was going to talk about that again, and he's saying colonized by photos, but I don't understand how the photos aren't preserving the image of her. It's almost as if he's saying that seeing your photos is sort of blurring who you were. And I don't really get that part as a grief process because I know that people hoard stuff in especially in their youthful state, like in their freshest state in order to keep the freshest memory of that person. So I don't understand that one. Colonized by photos as if like the photos are starting to become an unreal version of her. Let's continue.
Look over my shoulder to make sure, but there is nobody here. I finally took out the upstairs bathroom garbage that was
Nice.
sitting there, dried out, bloody, and a wife tissue.
Oh my gosh.
Your toothbrush and your trash, and the fly buzzing around the room. Could that possibly be you too? It does not feel good.
Yeah, yeah. That line about the fly possibly being her, yes, yes. I've sort of had like separate experiences where I experienced a bee and I also experienced a fly. And I did not know that this was like a relatable experience, that sometimes you just sort of like when going through that grief process, you're looking for like anything to just sort of attach to that person. And I don't know if it's that, I don't want to invalidate and say that that's not true. um it's just that to me, I just found it equally frustrating when I saw insects during my grief period. I didn't understand. It's like, wait, why am I being visited by these things? I don't know. I used to find it frustrating until I heard from someone else, specifically that it happens that sometimes when you're grieving, you might be visited by like a bee or like a fly or maybe like any other insect, but I don't know any other insects. But interesting that he mentioned that. But what's happening in the story, he's cleaning out. He's cleaning out. He's trying to move on from this, and now he's doing the work of letting go, I guess. Um, but there's so much that's not enjoyable about it, of course. I only congratulated him because it's essentially a good thing to move on, right? And track number 10 is Soria Moria.
All my life I can remember longing, looking across the water and seeing lights. When I was 5 or 6, we were camping in the islands.
Just a second. Um, so the first lines are slow pulsing red tower lights across the distance, refuge in the dust. So I think it's going back to what he was saying about like letting go of her. Like they cremated her, and I think they poured her ashes at sea. So I think those four lines have to do with that. I just wanted to highlight that before moving on into like the rest of the story.
And I felt a longing, a childish melancholy, and then I went to sleep, and the aching was buried, dreaming, aging, reaching for an idea of somewhere other than this place that could fold me in, clouded yearning for nowhere actually reachable. The distance was the point.
I want to say something because I so much of what he's talking about concerning grief is mournful, right? And yes, it ought to be. But um, I remember just before my recent experience with grief, I remember just being so like conceited and saccharine. I had gotten to the point where I had just become so superficial that I guess I think good stuff were happening in my life. I was doing acting during this time and I got into singing, but I didn't realize how ignorant I've become as a person. And I guess he's talking so much about the darkness of grief that I think he's going to get to the point where there's gratitude for that grief. And I don't think he'll be grateful for losing his wife, but there's gratitude somewhere in grief. There's something that you thank God for, like when it comes to grief, not the loss itself, but maybe the illumination, the enlightenment that comes with grief. But I'm just sort of getting that idea from this song particularly, is that as much as there's this letting go, but I am seeing that there's gratitude as well.
When I was 24, I followed this egg to an Arctic Norwegian cabin where I said, fuck the world, and I'm finally satisfied.
Yes.
I stayed, it didn't matter where we lived as long as we were together, and that was really true for 13 years. And the whole
So that verse was just sort of bringing us back to how they met, I guess. And they had been married for 13 years. My word. Okay.
slow pulsing, huge in the dust. In
Oh.
January,
Sorry, that guitar sort of gives, like, that distorted guitar. It gives it a little bit of a Radiohead feel. You know, I don't know what song I'm thinking of. Oh gosh, it slipped my mind. Okay, so I was thinking of like a Radiohead song, or maybe like an Elliott Smith song, but I don't know between the two of them, like this white men. But I that like little addition, that was nice. That was nice. It gives it like a very dark edge.
your life still, but chemo had ravaged and transformed your porcelain into some other thing. Something jaundiced and fucked. They put you in the hospital in Everett, so I gave the baby away. Back to feel alone there. All past selves and future possibilities on hold. Well, I tore through the dark on the freeway. The old yearning.
I wonder if he also experienced postpartum because they had just had a kid, and just soon after she is sick and dies of cancer, and having to take care of that kid alone, and also his counselor died. So that must have been such an isolating experience. Like I'm just sort of like thinking of like the weight of what this guy was going through. It's intense.
Way above the horizon, beyond innumerable islands, the tower
Sorry. The way I just want to see where they used to live. It sounds like a foresty.
is on
Sorry.
top.
It sounds like a foresty area with like maybe like a rainforest area where there's like a stream nearby, and there's like trees, and there's this house in the middle of that. This isolated house where they lived this life together. Like I see it so much, but I'm also just thinking of how lonely it might be to have all that and then lose it, and then lose it in the form of someone. if that makes sense.
Just keep going. There is a place where a wind could erase this for you, and the branches could white noise you back away. In the National Gallery in Oslo, there's a painting called Soria Moria.
Okay, I was wondering.
The kid looks across a deep canyon of fog at a lit up inhuman castle or
Or
something.
something.
I'm an arrow now, midair, refuge in the dust.
Man. So this one is absolutely beautiful as well. This might actually be one of my favorites as well because um, the verses are a little convoluted with poetry, I must admit. Um, but I think I got the imagery of just sort of being her, or like, um, first of all, how they met, and maybe just the the confirmation of life after her death, and I'm going to go back lyrically for this one because it was just like jargonated, jargonated. It was filled with jargon, and I didn't really catch it immediately. Much like that one, Forest Fire, but I don't think it was jargon with that one. It was just thematically unclear. So the very last song of this album, A Crow Looked at Me, Crow.
Sweet kid, what is this world
Oh,
we're giving
okay.
you? Smoldering and fascist with no mother. Are you dreaming about a crow in the middle?
Sorry, I guess I'm just laughing because I guess true. The world is smoldering and fascist. Um, okay.
The sky was low and the wind cold. The trail was closed.
Everything about nature that he was describing in the other songs is literally coming back in the song Crow. Like, I very much appreciate this. He's so intimate with nature. I feel like nature really helped with his grief process, for sure.
Except the sound of one crow following us as we wove through the cedar grove. We were watched and followed, and I thought of Genevieve. Sweet kid, I heard you murmur.
It's either Genevieve is like a story character that the daughter and himself know about, I think. Um Actually, let me try and see if I could like tell who Genevieve is, but it's not the wife. Um but they're having sort of like a moment. Like, I think this is the one song where he's like literally singing for his daughter, and that's absolutely special.
Crow, he said, crow, and asked, are you dreaming about a crow? And there she was.
Hmm. So clearly, from the title, A Crow Looked at Me, it might be very much related to his wife. So the songs Ravens and sort of like the bee. Oh, no, I mentioned bee. The fly that he saw in her room, could literally just signify the whole like reincarnation thing. This album is this album is so interesting in the way that it's detailed. You know, I was expecting to read someone's diary with this, but I really did not expect to get like beautiful jargon and poetry. I didn't expect to find something that is going to sort of ground me emotionally. Yes, I expected it to move me, but it's so surprising that, like, for the most part, I didn't cry because I felt the heaviness of the subject matter. You know, I also am glad that I didn't like go into like reacting, because it would have been really fake. And I'm just so happy that I was able to listen to this because I love music that speaks about the uncomfortable parts. You know, most of us in real life don't have conversations, don't have uncomfortable conversations, especially grief. I feel like with grief, there's also shame. In a strange sense. I mean, I've found that it's when you come from a family, it's very difficult to express grief openly, except in one way, which is that like crying way. So the denial, the bargaining, the depression, uh, maybe the silent parts of depression, the anger that brews during is usually uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable dealing with grief, because we all want to accept that death is not coming. Like, death is coming, but not for us. Like, we're all in denial when it comes to death, as if we won't die. And yet, this death is a commonalizer. It grounds us all, it equals us all. And it's one thing now I've come to appreciate about it, that now as it happens, it makes everything so precious. Yeah, well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you will now be much more observant or really perfect when it comes to your relationships, but it really just shows you like this important insight on how you ought to see yourself in relationships, how you show up in relationships. But in this instance, when you're married with someone, you sort of become the same person. So I find it so painful that he got separated from her in that way, in like this slow gradual way. And I can imagine that some of these songs were written during that time when she was dying instead of after. So it just makes it all the more painful that he got to like see all that. And I am going to listen to this album. This album is perfection. And I would like to know if there's anything else from Mount Erie that I could react to. If there's anything, even from South African content related to like grief and all this stuff. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about grief. That's not what this channel is about. But I just thought that maybe my comeback should be just as candid as my experiences. But B, I'm also just open to reacting to stuff that I haven't really like I've never done a reaction like this. So I don't even know how I'm going to edit all of this together because it's not a reaction, it's not performative. I'm giving you something that's like really close to my experiences. So most likely than not, I would want this to be taken seriously. So guys, thank you for joining in. This will be my new setting from now on. If you did like this, make sure that you subscribe, you like, and comment down below your favorite parts about Mount Erie, your recommendations. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.